This episode is brought to you by the Holiday Inn Sacramento Downtown Arena. Stay in the heart of downtown at Holiday Inn Sacramento Downtown Arena, ideally located near Old Sacramento Waterfront, Golden One Center, and Downtown Commons, Zoco. Our full-service Sacramento hotel is just 15 minutes from Sacramento International Airport and within walking distance of the California State Capitol and Safe Credit Union Convention Center. Host meetings, conferences, and social events in our flexible boardrooms and ballrooms, supported by experienced on-site sales and events teams. Enjoy modern amenities, including a rooftop outdoor pool, on-site fitness center, and Cypress Grill restaurant, serving breakfast, dinner, and cocktails. Guest rooms and suites feature comfortable workspaces, contemporary amenities, and city views, making them ideal for both short stays and extended visits. Whether you're attending an event, planning a meeting, or exploring Sacramento dining, entertainment, and cultural attractions, our downtown location keeps you close to it all. Downtown access, full-service comfort, easy booking. Stay at our downtown Sacramento hotel. Hey there, A's Day fans. Welcome to our Tuesday edition of our show. Hope you all had a great weekend and your weeks are off to an excellent start. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grotto. We got a good show for you today. Today is Tuesday, February 3rd. Jay Willie is here to stay as part of the developing young core as he and the A's are in agreement on a 7-year, $70 million contract extension. We will be sure to discuss our thoughts and the terms surrounding that contract. And then we provide a little spring training preview as we are about 8 days away from the official sights and sounds, the reporting of pitchers and catchers down in Mesa, Arizona. We'll be sure to preview some positional battles to keep an eye out for through February and March. A's baseball will be back so soon and excited to be here at A's Day to talk all about it. Holy Toledo, let's go A's. All right there, A's Day fans. Thank you once again for tuning in to our Tuesday show. Appreciate each and every one of you taking part of your day out to listen to our thoughts on everything going on with the Athletics. Before we jump into today's show, just want to provide a friendly reminder of where you can find us outside of our podcast episodes that we post twice per week. That schedule is set to change at the start of the 2026 season, as well as some other off-season content we have coming. We'll be sure to update you appropriately as the time nears. But before we get into all that, in addition, check us out on our social media platforms on Instagram at A's Day Baseball Podcast, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at A's Day Baseball. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel for A's player interviews, video editions of these episodes, and A's Destination Baseball City virtual guides for you to be able to plan your next destination baseball vacation. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel. So much great content is shortly on the way at the start and throughout this year. 2026 is set to be a big one, and we're excited to be here for it for you, the lovely audience. And be sure to become an official subscriber of A's Day. Check us out on our Patreon site, patreon.com/A's Day for just $2 a month. You'll be entered to win monthly A's Day t-shirts, A's autographed memorabilia, future A's game tickets, and so much more as we are able to grow this platform collaboratively. All right, let's start with the major news. As last Friday, shortly after, of course, we posted Friday's edition of A's Day, the news was released that the A's had completed another extension of their young core, as they are in agreement announcing a 7-year contract plus a club option for an 8th year for shortstop Jacob Wilson. He will reportedly be guaranteed $70 million, which includes a $3 million signing bonus. The option year has a base value of $26 million and has escalators depending on Wilson's MVP finishes in 2030 and 31. The salary breakdown is as follows: $1 million in 2026, $2.5 million in 27, $4.5 million in 28, $9 million in 29, $12 million in 2030, $17 million in 2031, $19 million in 2032, and like we mentioned, that $26 million club option with a $2 million buyout in 2033. Jacob Wilson, for all who may not be familiar, was the 6th overall pick for the A's in the draft in 2023. He ended up making his major league debut with a late cup of coffee the following season, but broke out this past year as the starting shortstop in the All-Star game. The second-generation star finished second in American League Rookie of the Year voting behind his own teammate Nick Kurtz. Wilson slashed .311 for a batting average of .355 on base and a .444 slugging percentage with 13 home runs, 26 doubles, 5 steals, and a tiny 7.2% strikeout rate. Wilson's pure hit tool is nearly unrivaled. Among the 560 big leaguers who took even 40 plate appearances this past season, his 7.5% strikeout rate was the second lowest, behind multi-time batting champion Luis Arias. Like Arias, the quality of contact when Wilson puts the ball in play is generally not great. He averaged just 84.6 miles per hour off the bat, with a paltry 2.2% barrel rate and 24.1% hard hit rate. That penchant for weak contact hasn't stopped him from racking up singles, however. His hitter-friendly home park in West Sacramento probably overstates his modest power, but Wilson did connect on 6 round trippers away from Sutter Health Park and could be reasonably projected to hit around 10 home runs per year. Though he doesn't post off-the-charts chase rates, Wilson does swing more than the average hitter, both off the plate and within the zone. He's an aggressive hitter whose preternatural bat-to-ball skills and frequent swings lead to plenty of early contact. That limited Wilson to just a 5.2% walk rate in his first full season, which is pretty well in line with the 5.9% walk rate he's posted in his limited minor league time thus far. Even if he never posts a high walk rate, though, Wilson figures to continue posting strong on-base percentages simply due to his knack for collecting hits. Defensive metrics don't paint him in an especially favorable light at shortstop. He was dinged for -10 defensive runs saved and -2 outs above average in his first full season of shortstop work at the major league level. StatCast credits him with well above average arm strength but below average range. An eventual move to second base or third base might yield better defensive results, but that likely won't happen until lauded prospect Leo DeVries pushes for a look at shortstop. He's still only 19 years old with just 21 AA games under his belt, so at least for the time being, Wilson will be expected to reprise his role as the athletic shortstop, although DeVries did receive an invitation to Major League Camp this year. Questions about Wilson's range have persisted since his prospect days, but scouting reports praise his solid hands, and he showed a clear knack for flashy, acrobatic plays during his debut campaign. The 7-year, $70 million term aligns closely with, but also surpasses recent extensions for Rocky shortstop Ezequiel Tovar and Wilson's own teammate, Lawrence Butler, when both are in the same service bucket in which Wilson currently resides. Love this move. And I just want to give a shout out to Booney over on Locked On A's. He was first to this in terms of predicting this. Weeks ago, we had an episode here giving him praise on how he depicted where the A's were out at salary-wise, how much they had remaining, and it aligned with an extension to get done. He got it done, or the A's got it done, and he predicted it, meaning Booney, perfectly. Wilson's going to be making just right around $10 million per year on average, although the contract details are very interesting here. And at first, I want to congratulate Jacob Wilson. This was well-deserved. He had an all-star campaign. You can see he is going to be one of the pillars of this franchise for a very long time. And a team that has a high amount of slug, Wilson is a nice change of pace of bat that is going to provide a lot more contact. He does have some pop in his bat, not like some of the other guys like Kurtz, Rooker, and Soderstrom. But Wilson definitely will be that type that can hit for a high average, be a productive player. And while his range may be a little limited, I saw a ton of plays with him out there defensively that I think is a plus. Could see him move over to second or third base later on in his career, but for now, A's are doing just fine. I love that they get this deal done. This is probably the last extension that's going to get completed this offseason, I would think. They do have Kurtz and Langoliers, who would be eligible candidates in my opinion, but I think they're going to be satisfied knowing they've gotten 4 extensions done over the last 2 off seasons. They are showing a clear, concerted effort to assemble this young core and keep them together for now and the long term as the A's get closer and closer to returning to relevancy. And I think this is an exciting time in A's franchise history, with the talent that they have between the lines, really resembles a lot of how this team started to get built before those 70s championship runs. So we'll see what the A's do in 2026, but nevertheless, Wilson is someone, I think this was a no-brainer without a doubt. Something that's very interesting here that stood out to me is the nature of this contract. It is very backloaded. In fact, he's only going to be making $1 million this year and $2.5 million next year. That means the A's could use that financial flexibility to continue to add to this team. Even though we are late into the offseason, like we mentioned, spring training's 8 days away, at least the official reporting of pitchers and catchers. And I know deals have gotten done throughout spring training, and even a trade can get done at the deadline, anything like that. But I still think there is an opportunity for the A's to add another starting pitcher and perhaps more help in the bullpen. You know, with the expectation of $10 million this year being dished out to Wilson as part of this internal extension that's getting done, now you have an extra $9 million freed up. Why not put that towards a starting pitcher, get him on a couple 2-3 year deal? You can do the same thing and backload that contract as well when you do have more access to financial resources, when you are in a bigger market, when you are playing more postseason games. All of that stuff matters, and I think if you're the A's, take advantage of this. Jacob Wilson, who was the starting shortstop in the American League in the All-Star game last year for the American League, he's making $1 million this year coming up. Take advantage of it. Keep adding to this team. There's a lot of positive momentum. You have all these extensions done with pillars of your team. There's good vibes. There's a lot of trust between the players and the baseball operations team led by David Forst. Keep adding. You can see there could be some help needed in the bullpen. Wouldn't mind lengthening out the rotation as well. But I still think now with how this contract was done, there's a possibility of one more move to get done. Let's see what that looks like, and we'll be sure to update you on A's Day if anything does come across our desk. All right, let's move on and get to our spring training preview. So like I keep mentioning, because we are excited, we are 8 days out until pitchers and catchers report on February 11th down in Mesa, Arizona for the sights and sounds of spring training. Perhaps one of my favorite times of the year on the calendar year, without a doubt. Let's take a look at some things to look out for as we roll along in preparation for the A's 2026 season. So first, let's talk. On our last show, we mentioned the 31 non-roster invites that were dished out for an invite to spring training, to Major League spring training. Just want to give a mention, keep an eye out. The A's top 10 prospects in terms of their organizational rankings all received an invitation to Major League spring camp. And I love that because that gives them the opportunity to continue to foster their relationships with guys that are on the current Major League club, pick their brain, get a better understanding of what it takes to be an everyday big leaguer, because that is their ultimate goal to get to at the end of the day. Some names, Leo DeVries is going to be in camp. Jamie Arnold, who was drafted this past year, is going to be there. Gage Jump, probably competing for that 5th spot. Braden Nett. Henry Bolte. Even Tommy White got an invitation to Major League camp. A lot of exciting stories here that really could develop if these young kids really show that they are ready and belong. And I think at the end of the day, this is just from the A's point of view, letting them get their feet wet and get an understanding of what it takes to make an impact at the Major League level. But what if one of or two of these prospects really turn heads? What if Gage Jump and Braden Nett are really fighting neck and neck for that 5th spot? What if Jamie Arnold is just ridiculous because his scouting report compares him to Chris Sale? What if he's absolutely dominant every outing in spring training? Are you going to force him into the minor leagues because that's just the development process? Or is Arnold do so much to force the A's hand that he wins a job on opening day? Don't think that's going to be the case. That's some fan fiction there, but hey, crazier things have happened. Jacob Wilson, Nick Kurtz didn't spend a whole lot of time in the minor leagues. That seems to be the trend of these younger prospects. What if Leo DeVries absolutely shines? What if he has an unreal spring training dominating Major League pitching? Is there a discussion to slide Wilson to second base and have DeVries at short, or Wilson to third, because you have McNeil who can play second and third as well? Again, more fan fiction, but what if? Nevertheless, I think it's a good opportunity to get, if you haven't had a chance to check out any of these prospects, this will be a great first look. I think there's going to be a lot you like to see, and then there's going to be plenty to see why these guys may need more time developing. But nevertheless, it's going to be a very satisfying glimpse into what should prove to be a very positive and strong future for this A's franchise that should see a lot of winning baseball on the near horizon. So it's always fun to see the future here. Let's see what they look like in Mesa throughout February and March, and how long they last with the big league club before getting optioned to their minor league assignment. And let's see if any of these prospects end up winning a job on the major league roster. Of course, the biggest positional battle that I feel is going to go down as we move along is going to be at third base. Some candidates to keep an eye out. Right now, it seems like the inside track is Max Muncy to win the job, but the contenders will be Darrell Hernandez, Brett Harris, Michael Stefanik, and Tommy White. Never know what may happen, but I do feel like in this situation, Muncy is probably going to end up winning the job. He ended up winning the opening day spot at second base to kick off last season. So I imagine that the A's are very high up on him, and if he can stay healthy, he does have all the tools to be a positive contributing major leaguer. We'll see this is going to be a very intriguing battle. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure and focus here. And also forgot to mention Max Schumann's going to be in this battle too as well. I just see him as a utility guy, which is why I didn't peg him initially into this, but he'll definitely be in the running for this as well. But looking forward to seeing who comes and emerges, because I think whoever does is going to be tested from day one all the way through maybe even the final week of spring training. It may take that long because a lot of these candidates offer different aspects of their game that I think could be positive contributors to the 2026 club. So I think they do have good depth of this position. I know there were some talks of bringing in someone like an Arenado via the trade, and there was small murmurings a while back of perhaps an Alec Bohm. None of those guys are going to be coming here in 2026. So these are the candidates we're going to work with, and I think whoever does emerge from this spring training competition is going to be someone that's going to be hungry for success and probably reside towards the bottom of this batting order and get a lot of hittable pitches to feast on. So looking forward to seeing who emerges victorious here. Also, we're going to kick it out to the bullpen, and we are going to figure out something else to keep an eye on. Who is going to be the closer for this team? There's going to be plenty of guys that I feel are going to throw their hat in the ring, and these are just some of the candidates that come to mind. Hogan Harris, Elvis Alvarado. I think they'll even take a look at newly signed Mark Leiter Jr., although he'll probably serve as the setup guy. I think they're going to at least test it out in spring training and see what it would look like having a veteran like that come in here and be the closer for the A's. Could he do it? Sure. I mean, if he's used to high leverage situations, I know closer is a different animal and everyone reacts in a different fashion, but I feel like his low pulse rate, I think, would fit in well. We'll just see if his stuff translates to being the guy to consistently get that 27th out. Some other guys to keep an eye on are also be Eduardo Nunez and Henry Baez. So I think there's a lot of hard throwers in this mix. There aren't necessarily a lot of guys with closing experience. I know they did have newly signed Nick Anderson, who I think is going to serve more of a middle relief role. Perhaps he'll get an opportunity to get some looks to close out some games in spring training. Time will tell, but this is something else to keep an eye on. The fifth spot in the rotation is going to be an interesting topic of discussion. Last year, the A's had open competition for their 4 and 5 spots, but now I think their top 4 is pretty solidified with Severino, Springs, Jacob Lopez, and Luis Morales, which leaves that fifth and final spot open amongst a group of candidates of Jack Perkins, JT Ginn, and then their prospects like Gage Jump, Jamie Arnold, Braden Nett, and also a Gunnar Hoglund and Luis Medina, who is set to return from Tommy John surgery. I think this is another very interesting group. A lot of guys that have high ceilings, but also have shown flashes of inconsistencies. Not really talking about the prospects here in this camp, talking about guys like more like a Hoglund, a Medina. I think Jump and Arnold, really excited to see what they can bring to the table. Between those two, I think Jump would have a better shot at winning this fifth spot this year just because Arnold hasn't thrown a professional pitch. So we don't really know what he's got, but definitely intrigued to see what he displays during his invitation to spring training. But I think someone like a Gage Jump or maybe a Braden Nett could be one of their two younger arms that make a push and leap over guys like maybe a Perkins and Ginn and a Hoglund for that fifth and final spot. We'll see. I think it's good that they do have some more candidates to choose from this year than they did last year at this point. So I think that is a testament to the depth that the A's continue to add to their organization as a whole. And I think this is going to be a very healthy competition where we're going to see a lot of good pitches and good innings thrown in spring training. And it's just going to be a matter who is going to give them the best chance to win every fifth day in that fifth and final spot. Some other things to keep an eye on is the catching depth behind Langoliers. So Austin Wynns, as we know, is set to be the backup. But in case he does suffer an injury like he did last year, take a look and see what guys like Brian Servin, Chad Wallach, and Brian Lavastida, all guys with major league experience, we'll see what they can bring to the club in 2026. All are probably going to be set to start at the minor league level. Perhaps one of these guys are going to be let go. But nevertheless, we'll see what this veteran experience can translate during their time in big league camp. Keep a note, and I think I'm going to be starring watching Lawrence Butler's at-bats. Let's see if this is the beginning of a resurgence in what proved to be a disappointing 2025 season. I want to see what adjustments he's made. I want to see more of a willingness to drive the ball with authority to the opposite field, and to see if he has made improvements in faring better against left-handed pitching. I know that's something that really locked him up in 2025. I do think it's an area he can get better, and they locked him up on a long-term contract for a reason. Butler possesses all the talent in the world, and I think he's due for a big resurgence in 2026. So mark it down, star his at-bats in spring training. I know they're not going to be all end-all, be-all, because guys at that point are still getting their timing down, but I think it's just someone to keep an eye on and just see if it looks a little bit different heading into 2026. Keep an eye on the biggest A's acquisition this offseason, and this will be the start of Jeff McNeil's first year in the green and gold uniform. Looking forward to seeing him primarily serving as the everyday second baseman, but be sure to keep up with what other positions you'll see him log during spring training. Don't be surprised if you see him spend some time over at third base, as well as perhaps some of the corner outfield positions as well. That is one of the perks to a veteran like McNeil, who has had so much success offensively, but is defensively as well, and has proven to be rather versatile. Another note, is there a spot for Zach Geloff? Like we mentioned, all those guys at third base, Jeff McNeil primarily at second. Is Geloff going to have to turn heads, or is he going to have to prove it again at AAA? Time will tell there. Then we're going to see how it all shakes out in terms of the position, player, roster depth. They have a lot of outfield player depth, so it's really going to be curious how this bench ends up shaking out. It is possible, out of these three outfielders, Junior Perez, Carlos Cortez, and Colby Thomas, 2 out of the 3 would make the roster and serve in a bench role. Who is going to be the odd man out? Be sure to track along. These are all guys that possess different qualities that can also provide a significant boost to the A's, but you only have 26 men on the roster. It's typically 13 pitchers, 13 position guys. So typically you would think 2 out of these 3 will make it, to factor in with another infielder and a backup catcher that is going to round out the bench. We will see who wins those final roster spots. And with that is our spring training preview. So it's a great time of enjoyment and excitement as we get closer and closer to the sights and sounds of opening day. If you haven't had a chance to get on down to see the A's in spring training down in Mesa, I highly recommend. We had the opportunity to do so last year thanks to our partnership with Visit Mesa, and they are the official tourism of that area, the home of both the Cubs and A's spring training too as well. You'll be treated to see these guys up close and personal, from different scopes and aspects that you never thought were possible. You get to see all of their different baseball training, get to see live at-bats. And if you're someone that likes to meet players, take pictures, get autographs signed, they were very, very fan-friendly. And the attendance, especially at spring training practices, which typically happen in the morning time, are not very highly attended because due to, especially if you go during the week, a lot of people are going to be at work during those hours, and it's not necessarily spring break time or anything like that yet. So that may be a good time to go. Or if you want to go check out a spring training game, Hohokam Stadium is an absolute wonder of a venue. Again, nice up close and personal feel to see a real life major league game. It is an exhibition, but you get to see real life at bats, see these guys up close and personal as they prepare to start on another year. So if you haven't been down there, highly recommend. And if you do end up down in Mesa, be sure to link up with the wonderful people at Visit Mesa who can create a unique itinerary to make sure you have the vacation of a lifetime. And this episode is also dedicated to and brought to you by Visit Mesa. Welcome to Mesa, Arizona, a destination for every season. Experience a destination where adventure, culture, and culinary experiences are limitless. As the gateway to the stunning Sonoran Desert and Tonto National Forest, Mesa invites you to explore its scenic waterways, kayak through winding canyons, or paddleboard along the Salt River. For a one-of-a-kind desert adventure, ride the waves of Revel Surf at Cannon Beach, the country's first surf park of its kind. Downtown Mesa is a vibrant hub, home to the Mesa Art Center, public art, award-winning breweries, and local shops. Food lovers can explore the fresh foodie trail and the diverse flavors of Mesa's Asian district. Sports fans can experience MLB spring training with the Chicago Cubs and athletics, or visit one of North America's largest youth sports complexes. As the world's first autism-certified city, Mesa is dedicated to accessibility and inclusivity for all visitors. Be sure to head on down to Mesa to check out the A's in spring training this year. You will not be disappointed. And with that, that brings us to the close of another edition of A's Day. Appreciate you stopping by and hearing our thoughts on everything going on in the athletics organization. On today's show, we discussed the exciting extension that was announced this past Friday, as Jacob Wilson is here to stay for this year and the long term, as him and the A's are in agreement on a 7-year, $70 million contract extension that has him here through the 2031 season. And on top of that, also a club option for the following year after that. And it's very front-loaded, very back-loaded, so perhaps the A's may have one more move this offseason on the horizon. Later, we provided a preview of spring training, some positional battles, some players to keep an eye out for, and some other tidbits. If you're preparing for your trip, head on down to Mesa to see the A's in spring training or to watch from afar. We wanted to give you some tidbits to be able to follow along with as we get closer and closer to the return of baseball in 2026. That's all I have for you today. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grado. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you all have a great week. And we'll be back for Friday's show when we're back behind the mic, discussing any transactions that go on between today and Friday's show. We'll continue on additionally with this player and A's history, kicking it back to the 1990s. We'll share any other A's news that may come about and come across our desk. Take care, everyone. We're excited to be closer and closer to the return of green and gold baseball. This team has a lot of good momentum, and we're excited to ride that momentum with them. Holy Toledo, let's go A's.